Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. What a wonderful day. And I must appreciate those who have joined on time to listen to the wonderful speaker. And the theme is understanding the causes for electrical fire. Most of us know that the reason, whenever there is a fire, the first reason, whether they do audit, whether they investigate, the first sentence that comes is due to electrical short circuit. Without proper investigation, the first thing they say is the fire due to electrical short circuits. Could be a reason, could be overloading, could be a bad earthing, for many reasons. And statistics says average around 26,000 people lose their life. And every fire is a great lesson for us to understand. Whether it is Mumbai fire, whether it is Gujarat fire, any fire, it's a great lesson for us to learn. While the government has declared Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India, we could see in last couple of years, the country is becoming self-resilient. And I'm very happy to introduce to all of you Cape Electric, a Chennai-based manufacturer who has invested a lot of time and energy and his research on how to reduce these fire accidents. I'm sure over the period you will understand what Mr. Gopakumar is trying to address to all of us. Today, before we start, we have a wonderful keynote address by Mr. V. Suresh. V. Suresh is a civil engineer from Anna University, and it was over 56-year experience. He has almost put 56 years. This is a small slide hold PPT. And he's a former chairman and managing director of FITCO. He's the current chairman of CAA, Indian Green Building Council. President of Forum of Critical Utility Services called FOCUS. Chairman of IGBC. He's the president for Good Governance India Foundation. He also received 16 awards and recognition and to cap it with CIDC Industry in Doyen Award 2011. IBC Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014 and CAA World Life Achievement Award 2017. He's the most energetic person that we have come across, and he's also the vice chairman of National Building Code. It's a great privilege for all of us to listen to his keynote address. I would request, I would now give the stage to Mr. V. Suresh.
A great pleasure to join this wonderful program that we are having on understanding the cause of electrical fires, and going to be presented by one of the best in this country, and that's my good friend S. Gopakumar, with whom we are the greatest of association professionally and also in the work of the National Building Code, and to write in the 2016 version on the Part 8, Section 2 on electrical installation. Gop's input is very, very important, and he came in over there as a committee member, trying to bring in line with not only the global best practices, including IEC provisions on some of the subject there. Gopakumar's own contribution in this area, in particular, on work on lightning protection in buildings and earthing and related one, very, very important, significant. And I'm very happy that he is making this wonderful presentation to make it an important topic for understanding for all concerned, to deal with the electrical safety and more importantly, fire safety. And his concern is that how electrical installations which are done, which can lead to faulty related installation, can lead to fire.
Mr. Gopakumar is an electrical engineer, director of Cape Electric. Over 27 plus years of experience in electrical safety, lighting protection, and EMC of electrical installation. He has conducted more than hundreds of site studies and failure in electronic equipment and presented papers for more than 1,000 seminars and training programs. He is also one of the members in the working groups of Indian and International Electro-Technical Commission, IEC, and Technical Coordinator of Lighting Awareness and Research Center, Trivandrum. He has published articles about safety in various magazines and published the book, The Missing Link, in the subject of electrical safety. What a wonderful subject that he has chosen to write. I now welcome our great speaker, Mr. Gopakumar. Over to you, Gopa.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Dominic. Thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all the participants, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure some of you know me. My name is Gopakumar. I'm the managing director of Cape Electric. Apart from the business, I do a lot of technical seminars, trainings, and all. I'm a member in the IEC TC committee, TC64, TC81, and SC37A. Basically, these are the committees, those who are making worldwide standards for electrical safety. The second one, lightning protection, and SPDs, surge protection devices. Similarly, I am also a member in the National Building Code Electrical Committee, then ETD 20 of BIS, which is responsible for making National Electrical Code, IS 732, IS 3043, and so on, plus ETD 30 and ETD 50. In fact, ETD 50 is a very interesting subject handled by ETD 50, which is LVDC, the future electricity usage. Now, with this, I will have a small introduction about the company. We are a 25 years old company. We have several products with respect to safety. We are predominantly into the maintenance and power production from wind turbines, but with respect to products, we have electrical safety solutions. As a designer, as an implementer, as an inspector, we are doing for several projects. We have complete earthing solutions for a modern building, not like the earth electrodes or earth pits, but a complete solution starting from the site studies and so on. We also design a lot of buildings, strategic buildings on HEMP. HEMP stands for High Altitude Electromagnetic Pulse. If you look at the last one, we have a subsidiary called as LPCI, which we are already incorporated into Cape Electric. There we are doing a lot of EMC studies. We also have industrial installations such as double insulated enclosures, panel boards, industrial plugs, and so on. We are established in 96 and 97. In fact, we are completing 25 years almost this December, January, we will complete 25 years. Our initial business was manufacturing of reactive power compensation panels. All of you know very well what is reactive power compensation. We were making panels for wind turbines, especially during 96-97, which was having an operating voltage of 690 volt, not like the 415 volt used in the industrial system. We were also the pioneer in the industry, introducing surge protection devices to various industries. We also have distribution agreements with a few German companies like Spelsberg, Theban, Reicap, PCE, and KLK Electroweld. If you look at our history, in 2019, we started a new activity like a partner in electrical safety. What do we mean by partner in electrical safety is we are giving design support in the projects. We are training the designers how to design a good earthing system or equipotential bonding system, or basically safety. It is not only related to earthing, but complete safety. We verify the entire documents, especially the drawings, support during erection, because a lot of supports are required to ensure finally safety. Complete testing we undertake. We have long-term contract with some of the clients with which all their safety matters we are handling, plus record maintenance for future. For this, we have support from one of the, we are developing a software which is developed by a team of engineers, about 15 people for the last 2 years. So we are still developing. So we have, as I said, what we mean by the partner in electrical safety is it is not just about earthing. There are several subjects which has to be coordinated together to achieve safety in an electrical installation. So we give support for design, train the engineers for doing safety things in the design, incorporating safety features in the design, verification, then checking the documents, and finally testing. And the last one, we also do PAT. PAT stands for Portable Appliance Test. Nowadays, multi-storied apartments, whenever new clients come, we are insisting to go for a PAT test so that the entire spectrum of safety, electrical safety, is achieved. So this is what we mean by partner in electrical safety. We have international collaborations with Spelsberg from Germany, Safibox PC, and Recap and the KLK Electroweld. These are with respect to our. This is a small introduction. What is earthing? The definition of earthing is very simple: electric connection between conductive parts and local earth. This is the terminology which is used nowadays in all these standards. When we talk about earthing, people also ask, what do you mean by grounding? Actually, grounding is a word, a term used in Americas. The meaning of the term is same: electric connection between conductive parts and local earth. Then we have to find out what is the meaning of this local earth and what is the meaning of conductive parts and all those things. However, earthing is a very simple subject, but very, very important subject with respect to electrical engineering. Why this is important? The importance is similar to a foundation in civil engineering. If you construct a building, you need a very good foundation for long-lasting that particular building. Similarly, if you have a very good earthing system, your electrical installation will work trouble-free for several years or decades without any much problems. Once when we talk about electrical installation, you must understand that electrical installation is basically the wiring, the panel boards, the installation, not the equipment or not the source. So that part of the installation is supposed to give an average life of about 40 years. So if we make a very good earthing, of course, the life of the installation will be very, very good, and the failures or the accidents are very much reduced. Then what is the purpose of earthing? The main purpose of earthing is to create a stable voltage of the power supply with respect to earth. What does it mean is, imagine you have a transformer, output of the transformer is a 3-phase 4-wire system. If you connect one of the wire to earth, the current carrying conductors such as the phase and the neutral will have a stable voltage with respect to earth. Once when you have stable voltage, your insulation requirements are less and it has got a lot of advantage. Now, there are two types of power sources. One is called as earthed system. In an earthed system, one live conductor is earthed through a very low impedance. That means a direct, you take a wire and connect one of the line to an earth. Here the word earth doesn't mean an earth electrode in soil. It means a bus bar. So that is called as a earthed system, which is generally termed as a TN or a TT system. Subdivided, TN is subdivided into TNC, TNCS and TNS system. Similarly, the second type of power source earthing is isolated earth. Isolated means the current carrying conductors are either completely insulated from the earth or it is connected through a very high impedance, and basically this is called as IT. Now, if you look at, in order to make earthing, first you should understand what kind of earthings are there and what are the purpose of each and every earthing. For this purpose, the IEC and all the world standards define earthing into various types, and various numbers are also allocated to each earthing. This is followed not only by IEC, this is the same in ISO, ITU, and all the standards. For example, 5017, this is a generic symbol. 5018 is an earthing which is called as a clean earth, or the new word is functional earth. For functioning of an electronic appliance, the appliance, the panel board, or the PLC will have a terminal, earth terminal, which is marked with 5018. 5019 is safety earthing. 5020 is called as chassis earthing. 5021 is called as frame or chassis equipotentiality. 5173 is called a signal low terminal. So wherever a terminal which is marked as 5173, you must understand that the potential of that particular terminal is very close to earth and very close to that is going to become the reference for the earthing. And 56032 is do not connect to an protective earth. So basically, earthing is done based on its requirement. First, you should understand these kind of requirements. Now imagine in a transformer neutral, I'm just showing you a picture of a transformer. The three-phase goes to the equipment. You have the neutral, and the neutral is earthed. If you look at the forward of IS 3043, what is written is, as a matter of fact, the earth now rarely serves as the part of return circuit, but it is being mainly used for fixing the voltage of system neutrals. So earthing is used for fixing the voltage of the neutral. That means it is a functional requirement. Similarly, if you look at the system earthing, the definition, I don't want to read the definition. What it says is neutral earthing has got two functions. It can be denoted by 5018 and 5019. It has got a function and it has got a safety. So both the requirement of function and safety are different. I will explain this in detail later. Now, this is what is required in a source. What is required in an equipment? First, we should understand what kind of equipment are there. Equipment are classified into class 1, class 2, class 3. Class 1 is an equipment whose body, for example, a motor, or for example, a panel board, whose body will experience a voltage during an earth fault. It is denoted by either the number 5019 or letter P or color combination green and yellow. Basically, the class 1 equipment has to have a terminal which is marked in this way, or the symbol 5019. What does it mean? Connect this terminal to the protective equipotential bonding system of the installation. That particular equipment which is having this particular marking must be connected to the protective equipotential bonding of the installation. So equipment earthing is very simple. You have a terminal, you take a wire, you have a terminal in your equipment, you take a wire and connect that particular equipment to the equipotential bonding system of your installation. Then we go to the second type of equipment, which is class 2. Class 2 is an equipment which is having double insulation. Means whenever there is a fault in this particular equipment, the exposed metallic parts are not going to experience a shock voltage. So these are shock-free installations or shock-free equipment. Say, for example, a 2-pin equipment with 2-pin plug, such as a video receiver or audio video equipment which we use in our home. But some of those equipment will have this kind of a symbol. What I mean is, these symbols are very much mandatory for, at the moment, imported products. Probably in future, this will be mandatory for Indian products as well. Basically, a class 2 equipment which require an earthing may have this kind of symbol, which means that particular equipment require a functional earthing for its operation. Similarly, the third one, class 3 equipment. Class 3 equipment means it is an extra low voltage equipment operating with less than 50 volt AC or 120 volt DC. This equipment, of course, it doesn't require protective earthing. The 5019 is not required, but the functional earthing is required. So basically, an equipment is having its own requirement. like 5019, 18, or 5020. Now, functional earthing is a subject with which the communication or the electronic equipment are connected in such a way that they are able to function very well under normal or under a fault or under a lightning condition. That is a different subject, but our main focus is today is about safety. IS 3043 11 clause 11.1.3, what does it say? The purpose of earthing the non-current carrying metal plant and equipment of a 250 volt but not exceeding 650 volt is, please read the highlighted portion. Provide a low earth fault loop impedance to facilitate automatic disconnection of supply. Then the second purpose is to limit the rise of potential. So basically, earthing in an installation has got two purposes. One is to make a very low fault loop impedance connection so that your equipment is able to disconnect in case of a fault, and the second is to reduce the touch voltage. Now, if you look at the clause number 23.1, basic purpose of earth fault protection. The earth fault loop impedance has to be low enough to allow adequate earth fault current to flow to cause an overcurrent protective device to operate within a sufficiently short time. What this part says is, in a normal installation, earth fault protection is achieved by disconnecting a protective device, which is nothing but a fuse or an MCB. Similarly, or where there is not possible to achieve a low enough fault loop impedance, the disconnection is achieved by an RCD. So these conditions are very well explained in this standard. How to make an earthing of your DG, for example, in IS 3043, picture 38 to 41, you can find this picture. The only difference is I put it in a color combination, RYB, red, in black, neutral and black, and green is the earth wire. The DG body, engine and alternator body is connected to earth bus bar. Neutral of the DG is connected to the same bus bar. Incoming EB supply, the PE conductor is connected to the same bus bar. Load side protective earth conductor is connected to the same bus bar. The same bus bar is connected to independent earth electrode with a number 5020. The same bus bar is connected to extraneous conductive parts such as other metallic parts. This is how you are supposed to make an earthing in your installation. As I said, earthing is a very, very important subject. If earthing is wrong, or if you make a mistake in your earthing, the building can create, a very dangerous situation. But you must also understand that an electrical installation will work without an earthing as well. Then what is the purpose of earthing? Earthing is to ensure that your installation is safe during an insulation failure, or during a surge, or during a lightning, or during some events. So in a normal condition, your electrical installation will work even without earthing. So whatever we are doing in the name of earthing is required only when there is a critical situation. Now, how do we make earthing in a consumer premise? Let us say an industrial premise. The industry is having, let us say, a BMS panel or a control panel. Class 1 equipment, what is protective and functional earthing? Now, imagine you have a panel board. The panel board will have RYB 3-phase, neutral, and the PE terminal. PE terminal means the protective earth terminal. In order to achieve safety, you are supposed to connect it to somewhere. For control panels, which is having, say, for example, 24-volt PLC or some kind of communication equipments, are supposed to have one more terminal, which is called as FE, functional earthing terminal. In an electrical installation, the functional earthing and the protective earthing must be connected strictly only at one place, not at frequent places. So functional earthing is basically called as an isolated earthing or an insulated earthing. Basically, a class 1 electrical equipment requiring functional PE and FE looks like this. It will have a 3-phase and neutral terminal, a protective earth terminal, and a functional earthing terminal. Now, the examples I have mentioned here. Now, let us see, how do you make earthing in a controlled room, for example. a location where concentrated class 1 equipment with FE terminals, class 2 and class 3 equipment with FE terminals, means functional earthing terminals. How to make earthing? You have some class 1 equipment, class 2, class 3 equipment. The first one is safety. All the class 1 equipment which is having a PE terminal must be connected to the MET, means main earthing terminal or equipotential bonding conductor. So this dotted line, green and yellow, is called as a protective earthing, which is necessary for class 1 equipment. Now, what do we do with the FE terminal? The FE terminals of the equipment are connected to SBB sub bonding bar for functional purpose. The color code specified in the standard is green, and this connection preferably must be isolated, means insulated. So you must use insulated conductors and you should do this particular connection. And making this connection is, again, there are several other requirements, such as the purpose of PE conductor is to allow low fault loop impedance for disconnection of protective device. And the purpose of FE, functional earthing inside a room, is carried out in different topologies called as star topology, mesh topology, IBM topology, and all. I don't want to explain this too much because this is a very, very technical subject. Now, how to do earthing in a building? What kind of connections are required? What are the names? What are the terms used? In your building, you will have exposed conductive parts such as panel board body, motor body. Exposed conductive parts are applicable for class 1 equipment, not for class 2 equipment. Then your installation also will have extraneous conductive parts. Extraneous conductive parts are such as the construction steel, metal pipe, metal handrail, sometime aluminum facade, the frame of aluminum facade, and all these are called as extraneous conductive parts. You have to have an equipotential bonding bar, which is called as MET, or a bus bar, which is offering a potential very close to the earth potential, zero potential, which is going to be the reference of this entire building. Now, all the exposed conductive parts are connected to MET through, I have given a red color, actual color is green and yellow, but just for identification, I gave red color. These are called as protective earthing conductor. The extraneous conductive parts, such as metal pipe and such as other metal parts, are connected to the MET through the blue color wire, which is called as a protective bonding conductor. That means at the mains incoming, MET is very closer to your mains incoming panel, the main switchboard, and at the main switchboard, you are supposed to make protective equipotential bonding. Now, the MET is connected to earth electrode in soil in case of a TT system. And this particular wires are called as earthing conductors. The same MET is connected to the neutral of the source, which is also called as a earthing conductor in case of a TN system. And both in the source neutral and the earth electrode, these are called as means of earthing. And an electrical installation also require number 4, which is a supplementary protective equipotential bonding. All these wires together are called as, or all these connections together are called as protective conductors. So basically, whatever you are seeing in the picture is called as protective equipotential bonding. Every building is supposed to have this kind of a protective equipotential bonding, and this is called as the equipment earthing. But you can just imagine whether you are connecting your metal parts such as handrails, such as the aluminum facade frame and all to your earthing system. You just find out. Now, once when we talk about the protective bonding, let us say, for example, this the connection number 2, which I am scrolling, the resistance of this wire, the sizing of the wire, the resistance of each joints, all these are important. Now, what about functional earthing? In the previous slide, I have shown functional earthing. All the equipment together, the FE terminals are connected to PBB or SBB. The SBBs are connected to, every building shall have a primary bonding bar, which is for the purpose of functional earthing. The the wires here, the PBBs are connected to SBB, like sub bonding bar, and these wires are called as telecommunication bonding bars. Anyway, I don't explain this much because this is a little bit tricky to understand. Every building at the service entrance, that means at the main switchboard, whatever the services which is coming from outside, metallic services which is coming from outside, we are supposed to create an equipotential bonding. In the picture, what I am showing is a metal water pipe, gas sewage pipe, telecommunication, power supply, and so on. This has got actually three purposes. The first purpose is protective equipotential bonding. During a fault, people inside the building shall not get a shock. Also, electrical, there shall not be any spark. So the first is no shock, no spark. Number two, in case of a lightning strike on the building or on the service line, the potential differences, voltage between two service incomings are reduced to a very low level. Number three, this protective equipotential bonding also reduces the shock voltage in case of a fault on the high voltage side of the transformer. Imagine you have a HT transformer and there is a fault on the HT side of the transformer. This fault on the HT side sometimes creates a shock hazard inside your building. But this protective equipotential bonding will provide safety against all these three. So there are three purposes for this particular protective equipotential bonding at the service entrance. Similarly, you can see this picture in IS 3043, which is explaining what exactly you mean by equipotential bonding conductor. So number one is the equipotential bonding conductor. It is a bus bar which is running all around the building, which is supposed to be of zero potential. Now, M stands for exposed conductive parts. Three-phase equipment or larger equipment are supposed to have two connections in duplicate. You can see here two protective conductor in duplicate. So larger equipment are supposed to have two connections to the protective equipotential bonding, and these are called as double earthing. This is double earthing, has nothing to do with two earth pits in soil. So double earthing means the exposed conductive parts of class 1 larger equipment are connected to the protective equipotential bonding with two connections. That is double earthing. Also, in the previous slide, I have shown the fault loop impedance, how earth fault protection is achieved in case of a TNCS system. TNCS is a system or a system earthing which is generally used for public electricity distribution. In that particular case, imagine there is a fault here. The fault current is returning back to the source through the PEN conductor. It is coming back, the fault current is coming back to the fault through the live conductor. The impedance of this circuit, the impedance of this loop decide the amount of fault current, and the amount of fault current decide the disconnection time of the circuit or the protective device, such as an MCB. Remember, for earth fault protection, RCD is an additional protection. It is not the primary protection. Primary protection is your fuse or MCB. So the earth fault loop impedance of this particular circuit must be lower enough so that higher current flows and disconnect the MCB, and the calculations are given in the standard. In case of the next network, which is called as a TT network, the source is earthed to earth electrode in soil. The equipment side are connected to different earth electrode in soil. Imagine there is a fault. The fault current is returning back to the source through the earth electrode, through the soil. It returns back through the system, the power supply earthing. So through the equipment earthing, it goes to the earth electrode. Through the system earthing, it comes back to the source, and finally the fault loop circuit is closed. Now, under this condition, resistance of the earth electrode at the source side and at the equipment side, these earth electrode resistances will come into picture. As a result, the fault current will be very much less. The fault current is not enough to trip an MCB. As a result, the very simple calculation or the very simple solution provided in the standard is you put a 30 milliampere RCD at the origin of the installation. I have shown RCD as a series device, but I'm sure every electrical engineer will. This is just to show you there is a protective device. So in a TT network, for fault protection, 30 milliampere RCD is mandatory as per this particular standard. Now, remember, this TT is only for public electricity distribution, not for industrial or commercial installation, or not for places where you have a transformer within your compound, or if you are a HT consumer, this is not applicable. For high-rise buildings, for industrial and commercial installations, we are supposed to have a network called as TNS, which is basically a 5-wire system. In a TNS system, imagine there is a fault. The fault return is happening through the protective conductor, and now this is the way the fault loop, the dotted lines, you can see the fault loop circuit. The impedance of the circuit ensure that the protective device is able to trip or not. So basically, earthing is all about to make this impedance as low as possible. Installation or equipment earthing means you have to make this conductor, the impedance of the conductor must be very small. That means no loose contact, sizes must be higher, and so on. Another requirement is the protective conductor must run very close to the phase conductor or phase and neutral conductor. The idea is whenever there is a fault current flow through the protective conductor, the loop is reduced to a very low level. As a result, the electromagnetic effects or the mechanical forces effects are reduced. So basically, industrial and commercial installation, we are supposed to have a 5-wire system. Now, what is fault loop impedance? Basically, the calculations are very much given in the standard. I don't want to explain the calculations to you because most of you knows it very well. The impedance of that particular circuit decide the amount of the fault current, which decide the disconnection time. So, earthed system, as I said, the earthed and unearthed system. In an earthed system, safety is achieved by automatic disconnection of the supply, protective equipotential bonding, and automatic disconnection of the supply. For disconnection, there is a maximum time. So within certain time, you are supposed to disconnect. Otherwise, the fault will create a fire or electrocution. Now, for disconnecting your MCB within this time, the fault loop impedance is very much important, which is recorded in these several standards. What I am showing is an IS 732 1989, a very old standard, 32 years old standard. You see here the section 5 of this standard talks about earth fault loop impedance testing. This is about testing earth fault loop impedance. So this parameter has been included in the standard approximately 30 years back, but even today, very, very few installations do this particular testing. Then the second, what are the testings required in a modern installation? IS 732 2019 recommends to go for 10 different kind of testings, and one of the testing is number 6, effectiveness of automatic disconnection of supply. What does it mean is, for getting fire protection and shock protection, you are supposed to disconnect your supply, for which you are supposed to ensure that your device is able to disconnect within certain time by making this particular test. So basically, the modern electrical engineering or electrical installation standards are asking for 10 different tests. Out of these 10, 4 are in supply off condition and 6 tests are in supply on condition. Now, there are several conditions. I am only showing the testing of the installation, but don't think that testing will completely solve your problem. No, the standard is advocating for an inspection. Approximately 16 parameters must be inspected, and these 10 tests must be carried out in order to ensure safety. Out of this, there are 2 tests related to earthing. The number 1, resistance measurement of conductors, and the 6, effectiveness of automatic disconnection of supply. I will show you from the standards on later on. Now, IS 3043 recommends or advocates to go for a system which is called as a TNS system for industrial and commercial premise with the PME. What is PME? In large installations, you are sometimes unable to create a very low fault loop impedance path. As a result, your protective device may not work. In order to solve the problem, what it says is you make an earth grid, interconnect the neutral of the system, and expose the extraneous conductive parts of the installation so that you have an additional path for the fault loop, for the fault current to flow back to the source. So automatically the fault loop impedance is smaller, and you get efficient disconnection of the supply. And this is what is explained in the IS 3043. And this kind of connection and earthing is very much mandatory, not only for fault loop impedance reduction, which as I said, that this is, for example, to reduce the fault voltage, reduce the voltage of induced things such as from the lightning. This is necessary to reduce the voltage, shock voltage during a high voltage fault. So all these things are very well documented, but basically this is how you are supposed to make earthing in your building, in your, if it is a industrial or commercial building. Now, but what do we do actually? Most of the installations in India, transformer neutral has got two connections to two earth pits in soil. Transformer body, two separate. Panel board, two separate. UPS, two separate. Elevator, two separate. So this is basically a kind of an undefined network. So this is what we do: separate earth pits. So basically, this is an undefined earthing. This kind of earthing, if you make, you can never achieve safety. So this is absolutely wrong. Nowadays, we also make earthing in this fashion. You know, a group of earthing interconnected, like electronics interconnected together to one earth pit, power earth, all the electrical items to one earth electrode, lightning protection to one earth electrode. Unfortunately, this is also wrong. This is, you should not follow. You will not be able to get the safety in this case. And if you have different earthing, and if you interconnect all the earth electrodes under the soil as a ring or a grid or whatever, this is also wrong. You will not be able to get safety. So earthing must be done as per the picture which I have shown in one of my last slide. The exposed and extraneous conductive parts of the installation must be connected to the main earthing terminal of that particular installation through different conductors called as protective earthing conductor, protective bonding conductor, supplementary bonding conductor, and so on. The impedance of these wires, the continuity resistance of these wires are extremely important. Now I will show you how to make earthing. Some of the examples of testing of earthing system, especially IEC 60, one of the standard, which is actually safety of LV machine. Clause 18 is the verification. Now you see, the first verification is verification that the electrical equipment complies with its technical documentation. So the consumer who buys the machine, first he has to read and understand that it is as per the technical documentation, and then he has to do the testing. The first testing you see here, verification of continuity of protective bonding circuit. So the equipment or the machine is earthed, in the sense the PE conductor, the PE terminal of that machine is connected to the equipotential bonding conductor. So the verification of continuity of that earthing conductor or that particular wire must be tested and ensured. That is earthing. Number two, in case of fault protection by automatic disconnection of supply, condition of protection by automatic disconnection of supply shall be verified. So the first one, clause 18.2.2, 18.2, I show you what exactly these tests mean. Verification of continuity of the protective bonding circuit. The resistance between PE terminals. So where do you have the PE terminal? The PE terminal is in the machine. The resistance between the PE terminal and the relevant points that are part of protective bonding circuit shall be measured with a current between at least 0.2 ampere and approximately 10 ampere derived from an electrically separated supply source having. So basically what it says is, after making the connection, you are supposed to test the resistance of that particular connection with a meter electrically isolated supply of having a test current of maybe probably about 10 ampere. I would recommend that if you go for an Indian meter, then you should have a test current of minimum 10 ampere. Otherwise, you will not get the correct value. Then the resistance measured shall be in the expected range according to its length, the cross-sectional area, and the material of the related protective conductor. So basically, imagine you are For a typical system, you require a 35 square millimeters of wire copper. So after making the connection, you check the resistance of this particular wire, find out the resistance of the wire from the manufacturer's catalog or from the recommendation of the standard, and find out whether the resistance is within the limit. So what do we achieve here? Loose contacts are nullified. You are sure that there is no loose contact. The resistance of the wire is good, so that there is no cut in between. Then the test number 2, fault loop impedance verification. Verification of the fault loop impedance by calculation or measurement. You forget about calculation, which will be very, very difficult. At the moment, a lot of meters are there. We also do calculation. However, meters are there. After installing the machine, you are supposed to do a measurement. So basically, testing of the machine means you are supposed to test the continuity of the wire and the fault loop impedance. Similarly, another case, ISO 8100, the lift, the new upcoming standard, which is going to become an Indian standard. You see here, first is the visual check. Next one is continuity of the protective conductor. Means the wire, the resistance of the wire, it must be very, very small. Number D, verification of the effectiveness of measures of fault protection against indirect contact by automatic disconnection of supply. So the standards are actually very well documented and very well written in these subjects. But unfortunately, we don't do exactly what is recommended. Similarly, in a hospital, additional test for special location. What is a special location in a hospital? Special location is, for example, an operation theater, or for example, an ICU, or the locations where class 1, class 2 medical equipments are used. The class 1, class 2 medical locations are there. So for those cases, number 2, measurement to verify that supplementary equipotential bonding. What is supplementary equipotential bonding? Imagine you have an operation theater. All the metallic items in that particular operation theater must be interconnected in such a way that during normal condition, the touch voltage between two simultaneously accessible parts are less than a certain millivolt, maybe 30, 40 millivolt. So you need to have a very good connection. Now the standard for the medical location says you are supposed to do the testing of the supplementary equipotential bonding. Now, verification of the integrity of facilities required with for equipotential bonding. It's always, every standard recommend to make equipotential bonding. A good earthing means how good is your equipotential bonding, and the testings are also very much documented in all the standard. Now, let us say, for example, a hospital, how to do the testing, supplementary equipotential bonding. Unfortunately, only very few hospitals have made this protective measure. So there is nothing to test because the safety measure itself is missing in most of the places. Now, I'm sure you are aware of the Electricity Act 2003. Act Section 149 explains, offenses by companies and offenses and what kind of penalties are there. So in case of any negligence in an electrical installation, in case of fire, the owner of the building is also guilty. So you have to be, the owners of the building must be very, very careful, because why I am showing this Electricity Act in the presentation is mostly the building owners are not, sometimes, they are a little bit careless on the electrical safety. So if you are guilty, even if your electrical engineer is made some mistake, sometimes the owners are made guilty. Now, the next subject, the first, so far I was explaining about the earthing, how you should make the earthing in an installation. The second part is what kind of wires or what kind of safety are required. Say, for example, protective conductor current. What is a protective conductor? Protective conductor is an earth wire. Different protective conductors are there, like PE conductor, PB conductor means protective bonding conductor, earthing conductor, and so on. Now, the maximum amount of PE conductor current in AC system is, you can see here, for a line current of less than or up to 2 amperes, the maximum leakage current expected in a protective conductor, that means an earth conductor or a green and yellow wire, is 1 milliampere. For load more than 20 amps, the maximum current expected in your protective conductor is 10 milliampere. This is for one condition. Probably there is a little bit, some more conditions are there, which I am not explaining, but basically what you should understand is the current flow, continuous current flow through the earth wire must be negligible, very, very small. If the current flow is exceeding these limits, then we are supposed to have additional earthing provisions such as a reinforced PE conductor. In order to ensure that the current is lesser than this particular limit, every electrical installation is supposed to make a test of insulation resistance. How to make the insulation resistance test? You must disconnect your equipment. You must test the insulation resistance of your wiring, of your including your panel board. You must disconnect your earthing, and you must test the insulation resistance between neutral and protective earthing conductors. The minimum resistance required is 1 megohm. If the resistance is lesser than 1 megohm, then your electrical installation is not in a good condition. This being the fact, practically what do we do? I'm just showing you a classic example. There is a source, let us say in an IT building, there is a source. The neutral is earth. The potential between neutral and earth closer to the source is near to 0 volt. After the MDB, probably the neutral and earth is 2 volt. Near to the equipment, the voltage between neutral and earth are sometimes 5 volt. The equipment vendor, if it is a sensitive equipment, he always say that my equipment will fail if the voltage is 5 volt. So they always demand for a voltage of lesser than, say, for example, 1 volt for your equipment. Otherwise, your equipment will fail. In that condition, what people do, there are a lot of spurious products or non-standard products available in the market. One such product is called as a digital grounding device. The manufacturer will claim so many parameters. Whatever problems you have, he will call this device digital grounding device, which I have put DGD. All solutions are available in this particular device. Practically what they do is they simply connect neutral and earth. They short neutral and earth inside this particular equipment. As a result, what will happen is, you must understand the reason for this 5 volt. This 5 volt is due to the neutral current flow. The current flowing through the neutral conductor multiplied by its resistance will give you this voltage drop. Now, by making a shorting at this particular place, what exactly going to happen is the neutral current will come up to this place. Then partial neutral current will flow through the neutral conductor, and balanced current will flow through the earth conductor. This neutral conductor or neutral current which is flowing through the earth conductor is called as, it is a kind of a circulating current. Imagine your neutral current is 10 ampere, but after connecting this particular device, about 5 ampere current flows through your earth conductor, but our maximum allowed current is, let us say, for example, 10 milliampere. So you are actually violating the electrical safety system. Now, these kind of devices or any shorting between neutral and earth in an installation is deadly. Please don't do it. You can connect neutral to earth only at one place, strictly at the source. After that, your neutral and earth must be separated. So if you make any connection, then your earthing is gone. Current flow will be, continuous current flow will happen through the earth conductor. As a result, you will have fire, you will have electromagnetic problems, you will have short circuit, and basically you will end up with an accident. So this is one of the issue. If you go to your industry, or if you check an industry, since I have conducted a lot of safety surveys, I know that for electrical engineers, shorting neutral and earth is sometimes a big solution, but that is actually a big mistake. Now, the fire, how to get rid of fire in electrical appliance. The power source are classified into 3 with respect to fire. Class 1 power source means a power source which is unable to create a fire condition, means the power in watts. So what is power? Power is nothing but the power consumed by your equipment, or the power which is going to create heat in whenever there is a fault or whenever there is an arc. So this particular power irrespective of the maximum limit, where I have put 200 watts as the maximum limit, actually it's irrespective of the maximum limit. If the fault is reduced to less than 15 watts after 3 seconds, so here within 3 seconds, the fault energy is reduced to 15 watts. This is called as a power supply class 1, which is not supposed to ignite a fire. This kind of a power supply, they are not supposed to ignite a fire under normal condition. Power supply class 2 means a power supply which is reducing the fault to less than 100 watts within 5 seconds. Under this condition, ignition is very much limited. No, ignition is not so common. Power supply class 3, it can ignite fire. So power supply classification is very much necessary, especially for an equipment. Let us say for an air conditioner. You have an air conditioner. The air conditioner is having a fuse, internal fuse. Whenever there is a fault, whenever there is a short circuit or an overcurrent between line and neutral, then your fuse will blow and the device is disconnected from the circuit. But the same fuse will not disconnect whenever there is an earth fault. If you wanted your air conditioner to disconnect, then your earth fault loop impedance must be negligible. Then only it will work out. Otherwise, you have to have a 30 milliampere RCD at every installation. So basically, this is all about earthing. One of the main application of earthing which we discuss is about lightning protection. What do we mean by lightning protection? You know very well that lightning protection, the Indian standard 62305 is advocating for a mesh at the top of the building. Then several down conductors, for example, 10 down conductors in a typical building. Then equipotential bonding, that means the down conductor and the MET are connected together. Then you can have earth electrodes in soil or earth electrodes in inside your concrete and so on. This is the explanation which is from a global, very good, very well accepted standard 62305. But whenever it comes to earthing, what do? We have a rod at the top of the building. I'm not saying all the buildings, but most of the buildings. There is a rod, early streamer emission rod at the top, one down conductor and one earthing. Unfortunately, this kind of a connection is not recommended in the ESE standard itself. There is an ESE standard which is called as NFC. So the standard of the French code is explaining in this fashion. This picture is actually from the French code. It says you are supposed to make a perfectly equipotential bonded system. Over and above, you can have an ESE rod. This is what it says. But the ESE manufacturer will never talk about this equipotential bonding. They always talk about one rod protecting 100 meters. This is wrong. Now, earthing of lightning protection is carried out in two ways, type A and type B. Type A means every down conductor, you have to have either a vertical conductor or a horizontal conductor. This is called as type A. Type A is recommended for smaller buildings. For larger buildings and larger industrial installations, we are supposed to have a ring conductor. Type B means a ring conductor all around the building, 1 meter away from the building, half meter below soil as a closed loop. This is the way of dissipating, the best way of dissipating lightning current in existing buildings. Now, in a modern building, the steel which is inside the concrete, the steel which is a part of your construction with superimposed mesh conductors, you can use it as a part of your earthing system. This is called as a foundation earthing. Foundation earthing has been made mandatory in European countries since probably 25-30 years. Whereas in India, this has become a habit only after the introduction of the National Building Code in 2016. So the best earthing is achieved by making a foundation earthing. Anyway, as I said, this is what mostly we do. A foundation earthing system or a global earthing system where you can, you don't need to have an earth electrode in soil for your transformer, DG and all those things. So this is what we are doing mostly in our projects. Now, another purpose of earthing, which is always creating a hazard without intimation, is a fault in the high voltage system. I'm showing you a transformer, high voltage winding, the low voltage winding, and the low voltage part. A fault in the high voltage system or HT side of your installation It can create three problems in your building. One is a over voltage at the LT side of the transformer winding. Next one is a over voltage at your equipment. Imagine you have an inverter or you have a refrigerator. Suddenly your refrigerator or your class 1 electrical apparatus, it has failed. So sometimes you don't know why the equipment failed. So if you check the reason for failure, sometimes it has failed at the same time when there is a fault on the high voltage side. Such faults also create a lot of fire hazard. Handling this kind of fire hazard is or ignition of fire is very much related to earthing. Three problems, as I said. One is your transformer may fail. Anyway, it's outside, you don't need to bother. The second is most of the time your equipment may fail. The third problem is you may get a shock. A person who is touching some part, let us say somebody touching the refrigerator will get a shock. RCDs are not practically possible. RCDs will not work under this particular condition. So earthing has got actually very, very important roles to limit the temporary over voltages and shock voltages inside your equipment. Now, what do we do for modern buildings? Modern buildings, the recommended way of earthing is called as a global earthing. Global earthing is a typical earthing system which is achieved by interconnecting the earthing of extra high voltage, low voltage, your DGs, your UPS, ELV, and all these things together in a typical fashion so that the voltages are very much lesser. These are very well documented in the standards of IEC and EN standards. Of course, the IS standards are also upcoming. What does it mean is, imagine you have a large building, let us say, for example, a data center where there is an EHV supply, you have 11 kV distribution, you have buildings with 11 kV supply and a lot of transformers, sometimes transformers are there in each floor of the building. For that particular application, the global earthing system is an earthing system which is achieved by interconnecting different earthing systems together. This is the most modern method of achieving safety in a large industrial or in buildings where you have your own transformer. How do we measure and what kind of things are required? I'm just showing you the page from the risk assessment page from the IEC 61936. Earthing system design flowchart, data collection, initial design, global earthing system, yes, design complete. If you are doing a global earthing system, you don't need to do all these parameters such as soil characteristics, current flowing to earth, impedance to earth, earth potential rise, permissible touch voltage. All these calculations are simply not required. You just go for a global earthing system, but ensure that the shock voltages are reduced to less than the limit which I have shown in one of the slides. Modern buildings also require, in addition to the global earthing system, they are also supposed to have a mesh bonding network. Mesh bonding network means the structural steel elements are interconnected in such a way that the equipment, finally the equipment which is installed, between the equipment, the resistances are very much reduced. As a result, you achieve a very high degree of safety, a very high degree of reliability in your electronic equipment. This is a very much. Actually, earthing is all about these things. Now, what are the problems? When it comes to earthing, the following problems we are facing wherever we go for an audit, we are facing these problems. Number one, what kind of system earthing you are using? Normally, it is unknown. Are you using TN or TT or IT? Mostly the engineers, not all the engineers, but most of the engineers doesn't know. Then we have to explain to them. Then they say, okay, it is a TT system, but sometimes it is not a TT system. It is a different kind of system. So the information on system earthing is missing. Protective earthing, like connecting the steel pipe, firefighting pipe to your equipotential bonding conductor in a high-rise building, protective earthing. Mostly it's missing. People don't do this. Functional earthing means for the operation of electronic equipment, you are supposed to connect it in, as I said in one of the slides. Instead, what we do, we take a wire and connect the equipment to an earth pit in soil. This is wrong. Protective equipotential bonding mostly is a problem. Fault loop impedance test and the ensuring disconnection during fault. This is also not very rarely done. Fault loop impedance reduction measures in industrial and commercial buildings by additional grid is also a little bit a problematic area. Testing of equipment earthing and supplementary equipotential bonding. Say, for example, like you have a lift or you have a large machine or you have an operation theater, supplementary equipotential bonding and the continuity resistance measurements we rarely do. Early streamer emission lightning protection with one rod, one down contactor, one earthing is followed. Temporary overvoltage reduction in the low voltage side of a transformer during a fault in HV side is generally not carried out. Global earthing systems are not followed. Mesh bonding systems are not followed. Actually, a good earthing means all the above. So a good earthing means you have to have a very strong, a good system earthing, protective earthing, functional earthing, protective equipotential bonding, fault loop impedance and reduction measures with a tested system, TOV reductions, temporary overvoltage reductions due to a high voltage fault, nothing should fail on the LT side, mesh bonding network and so on. This is what is about earthing in a modern building. Earthing in electrical installation is like, it is an important subject. It is as important as a foundation in a building. If you, without a foundation, if you construct a building, you can be sure that the life of the building is very less. Similarly, if you don't have all these measures in your building, and if you try to put electrical installation, of course it will work. As I said, an electrical installation will work even without earthing, but it will create a disaster whenever there is a problem. So a building where the above measures are not implemented, you cannot claim safety, especially if you are in Europe or America. It's very clearly documented that if all the above, sometimes some of these the bullet points are not applicable to your building, but for a larger building, sometimes all the things are applicable. If you are not following this, of course, you cannot claim safety. And unfortunately, what do we do with respect to earthing? Unfortunately, we install more and more earth pit in soil with chemicals, bentonite, fly ash, and expect safety during fault. So actually, the subject of earthing has nothing to do with the earth pit in soil. Earthing is a subject which is ensuring all these bullet points which I have put here: system earthing, protective earthing, functional earthing, and finally mesh BM. So this is how earthing must be carried out. Now, what I request you is, if you have any questions, you can ask me. I can clear it to you. Probably I also request Mr. Dominic that in case of any future questions also I can answer. You know, as I said, it is an extremely important subject. Without earthing, your equipment may work. Absolutely no problem. For 25 years, it may work. That means sometime 25 years, you have no fault or you have no short circuit in your building. But earthing is necessary whenever there is a fault or whenever there is an abnormality in your building. So by this, I would like to stop my presentation. Thank you very much. Probably we can go for the question answers.
Thank you, Gopakumar. Yeah, it's almost 1 hour, 15 minutes. Wonderful, highly technical, enlightening presentation that you have made. I could see while you're presenting, many people are demanding the PPT, saying that it's such a good subject that they wanted to keep listening to your presentation and quietly and understand again and again, and which means it's a wonderful presentation that you have made. And being this technical, I'm sure we need to keep listening again and again. And as I said in the beginning, we are just beginning this series of technical knowledge series on electrical safety system. I'm sure GK will continue to do this in coming days. Any training regarding earthing is available. So Mahesh Pandit is asking, can we have a training on earthing? Is there any available training on?
Yeah, we are actually doing, we are making, along with an NGO, we are making a campaign, but it's a mass awareness campaign. Monthly 4 to 5 classes we are doing. The whole earthing is about 4 classes, 2 hours each, totally about 8 hours. So you can participate in that those programs. Mostly it's available on our social media, the LinkedIn and all those places we are advertising. You can contact us through that, or you can get registered through that. These are free, not chargeable classes.
Lot many congratulations to you, GK. You know, it's Jerome is saying best session on earthing system I ever attended. So, which means we need to do more and more on the earthing system, global earthing system. Ladies and gentlemen, I have posted his website, capeindia.net. Again, repeat, capeindia.net is his website, and a lot more informations are available in it. And as I said, he is one knowledge bank. Other than he has his own business, he represents in BAS standards and National Building Code. Any input, any suggestions are most welcome to him. And as we all say, knowledge is not limited, it's continuous process of learning. And we will continue to have many more series coming in. You may share your thoughts. If you feel that there is some subject we are missing or some other subject that we need to cover, please feel free to write to Mr. GK, and we will come out with another program in next 30-40 days. We will also have a training sessions and certification program by CAPE very soon. GK, we are almost now 1 hour 40 minutes. It's wonderful to have you. You know, you're a great speaker, and I know you are in demand in all over the country and globally also to speak on this subject. And I wanted to thank you for sparing your valuable time to come forward and doing this presentation through Blue and Gray. We are very grateful. I always, three principles I always keep telling, follow these three principles. First 25 years of our life is all about learning. And next 25 years of our life is all earning. The next 25 is all giving. So learning, earning, giving. So giving is something that we always need to practice. Knowledge is not to carry when we die. Knowledge is to leave here for the rest of our generation to learn. I'm sure you all will come forward in our next session and support us and bring in other engineers who wants to change our nation. So our nation need talented engineers, and electrical subject is a big subject that it's a continuous learning, and we will also learn along with you. I would request now, you want to say any thank you note to Gopakumar to the audience?
Yes, thanks to all of you for your encouraging comments. As at the beginning, which I said, it takes a lot of hours to explain everything. So in 2 hours or this 1.5 hours, whatever possible, I try to make it as quick as possible. So as a result, I was going very fast. Probably in the next sessions, we will educate you how this has to be done. So thank you very much for the time being, and have a nice weekend.
We will also share, we had almost 1,130 registration, and we had a very good participation, over 350 participations. And we will share these recorded YouTube link to everyone. People who are registered. I know being Saturday weekend, you have family commitment. We'll also try to do this in the first half of next Saturday, coming Saturday. We'll try and see. And as I said, Gopakumar in great demand to speak in various forums. So we'll see next available time and let you know.